Alien commanders baffled as humans slept peacefully through a galactic assault. In the heart of the Triarii Nebula, where stars glowed with eerie hues and cosmic storms raged like ancient gods, the Xyrix Dominion had unleashed an all-out assault. This was no ordinary battle, this was a relentless, no-holds-barred offensive meant to crush the Galactic Allied fleet stationed on Station Veritas 9, the largest and most fortified space station in the quadrant. The Xyrix Dominion, a species of rigidly disciplined, insectoid warriors, prided themselves on their brutal efficiency and meticulous planning. Every maneuver was calculated, every tactic honed to perfection over millennia. Their ships, razor-edged behemoths, cut through space like blades, leaving devastation in their wake. The Xyrix had prepared for months, amassing forces in secret, planning every aspect of the attack with surgical precision. Yet, in the middle of this meticulously orchestrated chaos, Commander Rukala of the Xyrix flagship Venomous Dawn was utterly baffled. Through her monitors, she could see the situation in one particular sector of the station, a barracks labeled human quarters. Despite the explosions rocking Station Veritas 9 and the sirens blaring in every corridor, the humans were asleep. "Bring me closer visual feeds," she barked in her language, a series of rapid clicks and hisses. The holoscreens zoomed in, showing various quarters within the station. There were humans, hundreds of them, lying in bunks, sprawled out in sleeping bags, some even stretched out across their equipment cases. A few were snoring softly, oblivious to the world-shattering battle erupting outside. One young Xyrix officer, braver than most, hesitated before speaking up. "Commander, it seems they are not responding to the threat. They show no signs of distress or readiness to engage." Commander Rukala's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Fools, they believe themselves so safe on that station, they won't even wake for a galactic assault?" She was mystified. To the Xyrix, sleep was a vulnerable state, one reserved for the deepest, safest bunkers, guarded by countless sentries. But these humans were stretched out in the middle of a war zone, as if this chaos were little more than background noise. "Commander," her second-in-command, Lieutenant Escarok, interrupted, his voice filled with a mix of confusion and disbelief. "Our analysis indicates they may actually be sleeping soundly. Some are even in what their files call deep REM cycles." Rukala recoiled. Deep REM? In Xyrix culture, such a relaxed state during combat was unthinkable. To willingly lower one's guard to such an extent, in the very heart of a galactic war, seemed reckless at best and suicidal at worst. Yet, here were the humans, embracing this vulnerability. Meanwhile, in the human quarters, Lieutenant Emma Castillo stirred, blinking her eyes open to the dim red emergency lights. With a groggy yawn, she checked the time on her datapad, 0400 hours. The assault had begun almost 2 hours ago, but she'd slept through most of it. Beside her, Private Malik Jones was still sound asleep, his head tucked under his arm, drooling slightly. Emma nudged him. "Jones, wake up. I think the Xyrix finally decided to start something." Jones grunted, rolling over before muttering, "Is it our shift yet? 'Cause if it's not, I'm going back to sleep." Emma rolled her eyes, amused. Humans had a peculiar talent for ignoring imminent threats until they absolutely needed to respond. As soldiers from Earth, they had survived on hostile planets, trained on death worlds, and endured brutal conditions. Galactic assaults? Just another Tuesday. Emma decided it was time to get up and ready the squad. "All right, squad, on your feet," she called out, her voice low but firm. Her team began to wake, stretching and yawning as though they'd simply had a late start. Back on the Venomous Dawn, Commander Rukala's confusion turned to something akin to unease. Were the humans simply too foolish to realize the danger? Or was this a terrifying display of resilience? She turned to Escarok. "Send a probe closer. I want a closer scan of their vitals. There must be an explanation for this." In the corridors of Station Veritas 9, as Xyrix drones breached the outer defenses, humans were finally preparing for combat. But instead of fear, there was an almost annoyed energy in the air. One Marine even muttered, "Can't believe they woke us up this early. I was in the middle of a dream." Private Jones, now awake, shouldered his plasma rifle and chuckled. "Guess the bugs didn't get the memo. We like our sleep." As the humans suited up, they shared quiet jokes, their demeanor a stark contrast to the urgency of the Xyrix forces. Each human was an apex predator from a death world, a planet that had taught them to be both adaptable and unbreakable. Sleep was a precious resource they could command at will, even in the midst of a galactic assault. Commander Rukala watched, horrified yet mesmerized, as the humans began to mobilize, late, but entirely unshaken. Commander Rukala paced the bridge of the venomous dawn, her mandibles clicking in frustration as she watched the bizarre scene unfolding on her screens. The humans were now awake, yes, but they showed none of the fear or desperation she had expected. Instead, they moved with a maddening calm, some even sharing small laughs as they strapped on their gear. "What is wrong with them?" she muttered, her voice low with frustration and more than a hint of unease. Every instinct in her core hissed at her that this behavior was unnatural. In all her years of commanding, she'd never seen a species respond to an impending annihilation with such indifference. Lieutenant Escarok, her second in command, was equally perturbed. "Perhaps they've gone mad under the pressure. Commander, they may be in denial." Rukala's eyes narrowed as she observed one human marine, a large male with a scarred face, casually pull a small, brown package from his belt pouch. Her monitors zoomed in as he unwrapped what appeared to be a food the human was preparing to eat. She ground her mandibles. Are they truly so arrogant, so dismissive of the Xyrix dominion, that they see us as little more than an inconvenience? The human marine bit into his snack with a satisfied grin, as if the blaring alarms and flashing lights were no more than a minor annoyance. Rukala's scales prickled with a new emotion, something she had never felt before. She thought it might be intimidation. But she quickly shook off the feeling. The Xyrix were warriors. They had conquered countless worlds and subdued dozens of species. These Deathworlders, though strange and unsettling, would be no different. "Prepare the next assault wave," she barked, her voice stealing. "If they refuse to take us seriously, we will make them regret their arrogance." On Station Veritas 9, Lieutenant Emma Castillo and her squad moved into position in the central corridor of the station. The air was thick with the hum of Xyrix assault drones hovering just outside the walls, ready to breach. But instead of panic, there was only a quiet buzz of anticipation. Emma turned to her squad. "All right, listen up," she said, her tone casual. "We're about to have some very grumpy bugs coming through that wall. Stay calm, don't waste your ammo, and remember, they have no idea who they're dealing with." Private Malik Jones chuckled. "You think they're still freaked out about us sleeping through the first attack wave?" Emma smirked. "Oh, I'm sure they're talking about it right now." As if on cue, the wall panel ahead exploded inward, shards of metal and smoke filling the air. Xyrix drones poured through the breach, their multiple legs clattering against the metal floor as they surged forward, weapons drawn. "Here we go," Emma shouted, raising her plasma rifle. The humans unleashed a carefully aimed barrage, each shot hitting its mark. But unlike the typical soldiers the Xyrix were used to, the humans didn't rush or panic. They moved with almost casual precision, their training ingrained to a point of reflex. Each Marine covered their sector, communicating with quick, clipped phrases. "Jones, cover the left. Santiago, keep them pinned by the crates." As the Xyrix drones advanced, they quickly realized something was wrong. Their usual tactics, overwhelming the enemy with sheer numbers, were failing against these humans. For every drone that charged forward, a plasma shot precisely took it down. The humans' movements were disciplined, almost lazy, as if this skirmish were a mere drill. Commander Rukala watched the footage in horror. The humans weren't just effective, they were enjoying this. They were making jokes, laughing, even taunting the drones as they pushed them back. "Is that all you've got?" one of them jeered, taking down 3 drones with 3 perfectly placed shots. Rukala felt a shiver run through her. These creatures were acting as if they'd been waiting for this. "Commander," Lieutenant Escarok said, his tone uncertain, "the humans are adapting to our tactics faster than anticipated. They're neutralizing our drones at an alarming rate. Permission to pull back?" But Rukala's pride wouldn't allow it. "No, we will not retreat from mere Deathworlders. Send in the heavy assault unit." In the corridors of Veritas 9, Emma spotted the change immediately. The sound of clanking metal and hissing hydraulics filled the air as a group of Xyrix heavy assault units stomped through the breached wall. These were larger, armored warriors, each bristling with weaponry and thick, reinforced exoskeletons. "Oh, now we're talking," she murmured, her eyes lighting up with excitement. Jones grinned beside her. "Time to pull out the big guns?" Emma nodded, signaling her squad. They quickly swapped their plasma rifles for something a bit more destructive. The humans pulled out compact rocket launchers, their faces still calm but now tinged with anticipation. As the Xyrix heavy units charged, Emma called out, "All right, boys and girls, Give him a warm welcome. With a synchronized blast, the humans unleashed a volley of rockets, their explosions lighting up the corridor in brilliant orange and blue flames. The Xyrix heavy units stumbled, some collapsing under the barrage, their armor cracked and smoldering. The few that survived the initial assault found themselves facing a relentless counterattack from the humans' plasma rifles. The Xyrix's advanced warriors, their pride and most powerful assets, were falling to these Deathworlders with shocking ease. Back on the venomous dawn, Kala's mandibles quivered as she watched her forces crumble. Never, in all her years of service, had she seen an enemy dismantle her troops with such terrifying precision and ease. Her forces, her pride, were being picked off by what appeared to be mere entertainment to these humans. Commander, Eskerok's voice broke into her thoughts, this time barely a whisper. The humans, they are unstoppable. Kala clenched her claws, unable to accept what she was seeing. No, there must be something we can do. But as she watched the humans move through the corridors of Station Veritas 9, effortlessly picking off her drones and laughing amongst themselves, she felt a cold realization settle over her. For the first time in her life, Commander Kala understood what true terror felt like. These humans, these Deathworlders, they were not to be underestimated. They were not just soldiers, they were a force of nature, a relentless, laughing storm that devoured everything in its path. As Emma's squad cleared the last of the Xyrix units from the corridor, she lowered her weapon, glancing around at her squad with satisfaction. "All right, everyone," she said, a smirk tugging at her lips. "That should teach them not to wake us up." Jones laughed, slinging his rifle over his shoulder. "Think they'll come back for round 3? Emma shrugged. "If they're dumb enough, maybe, but something tells me we might have just given them a whole new understanding of Deathworlder diplomacy." And somewhere, in the darkness of space, the Xyrix Dominion's most feared commander sat in silent, horrified contemplation, realizing that for the first time, she'd encountered an enemy that thrived in chaos, laughed in the face of danger, and never, ever stopped fighting.